Hi everyone, Rebecca here from Moving to Canada. If you're wondering how long your immigration application will take, stick around. We're diving into application process and times and what they mean for you. Now, this might seem like a really boring topic. A lot of people see process and times as just numbers on a website, and for many, it's just a quick glance and move along to the next thing. But there's so much more to it than that. For those coming to Canada or looking to extend their stay in Canada, it plays a critical role in your journey and your plan. So for those watching today, let's unpack this. We'll go into how these times get calculated, why they change so much, and how you should plan around processing times. The goal is to give you insights, help you plan better, and maybe avoid some common mistakes. Processing times are not just statistics. They are critical pieces of information and have huge real-world implications on your application. So first up, how do you check application processing times? It's super simple. IRCC has a dedicated online tool right on their website. That's the official spot for the latest processing times, and it's designed to be the source of truth. These times get updated regularly based on the latest data available, so we usually advise check in it every week or so if you have an application in process or if you are planning to apply in the near future. Staying up to date on the latest processing time is key and lets you adjust your own timeline according to how processing times are trending. Next up, how do IRCC come up with the estimated processing times? Like when IRCC say a study permit is going to take 12 weeks to process, what's actually behind that number? It's not just a guess. It's actually quite complex and based on a number of factors. Understanding these really can help you make sense of how they come up with this and plan accordingly. First, there's the inventory. That's just the sheer number of applications already in the queue to be processed. So it's basically the backlog. A big backlog generally means a longer processing time. Second is staffing. How many offices are actually available to work on that specific type of application? More staff, say for work permits, usually means that they'll be processed faster. Applications requiring more nuanced processing, like applications claiming humanitarian and compassionate grounds, may have fewer offices available to process them and therefore take longer. Third is future demand. So IRCC tried to predict how many new applications they think they are going to get in the near future. This is forward-thinking processing times as opposed to backward-thinking processing times, which was the case prior to 2024. Fourth is the applicant step. So this covers time needed for things like the applicant needs to do, like get their biometrics. And finally, there are regional factors, like if you're planning to live in the province of Quebec, estimated processing times will include the additional time it takes for Quebec to do their portion of the processing. So there are lots of moving parts here, but one of the key things is that an application processing times starts the moment IRCC receive a complete application and ends once they've delivered their final decision. So it's incredibly important that you submit a full application because you want to make sure that you've got the shortest processing time possible. Why is it so important that IRCC share up-to-date processing information? When IRCC publishes accurate processing times, they're setting applicant expectations. It gives you valuable insight. Are you expecting a 3-month wait, or is it going to be closer to a year? And that knowledge can really help you plan out your life. Think about students needing to start class by a certain date, or families waiting to be united, or even workers trying to coordinate a start date with their employer. It really does help to avoid so much chaos and uncertainty if they can have kind of an idea of when they're going to be able to start working, for instance. And beyond the practical side of things, it does build in trust and peace of mind. It goes some way to make sure that IRCC remain accountable and are not some just black box operating with no oversight. Imagine if you had absolutely no idea how long it was going to take to process your application. You would have no idea whether it was normal or if there was something wrong. That would just be incredibly stressful. So knowing all this, how times are calculated, why it's important to check, how can you use processing times to inform your decisions? There are definitely ways that you can use processing times to your advantage. The number one tip is to apply early, and it sounds very simple, but it's crucial. If the tool says that a study permit will take 12 weeks, don't apply 12 weeks before your school starts. Give yourself a buffer time. Maybe aim for 5 or even 6 months beforehand if you can. That buffer is going to be your safety net in case there's any unexpected delays. Second, it's really important to keep tracking updates. Like I said, check the IRCC tool every week or so. Notice any trends, application processing times for your type of application. You might want to consider submitting your application a bit sooner than you would, so long as it doesn't compromise on quality. You should never rush an application for the interest of speed, because that will likely have a negative impact anyway. Third, factor in any complexity of your application. You have to be realistic and honest. If your case case is unusual, you might require additional background checks. That is going to add to the estimated processing time, so you should build that extra time into your personal timeline from the start to avoid any nasty surprises. Finally, understand variations. So not all applications are processed the same depending on where they are and where they're from. It can vary via province, and it can also vary by country. So someone in India might have faster processing than someone from the Philippines, for instance. So knowing these types of variations can also help you set your own timeline when it comes to applying. But what if you do all that? You plan carefully, you check the application processing times, and your application still goes way past the estimated time. What can you do? Remember that estimates are estimates, they are not guarantees. So if you find yourself with an application that's taken far longer than what was expected, there are still some steps that you can take. First, check your online IRCC account very carefully. Is there a message there? Have you missed anything? Just make sure there's nothing pending from your side. Second, if there is nothing pending and you're past the published processing time, you can try submit an IRCC web form, although IRCC are notoriously bad at providing any information and actually getting back to these web form requests. Third, you can apply for government notes on your file. This does take several months to receive, but it may be a good option for you. It gives you insight into what's happening during the processing of your file. It could identify some issues which you need to address. If you are applying from within Canada, you can contact your local Member of Parliament. Their office often has channels to inquire with IRCC on behalf of their constituents. It doesn't guarantee faster processing or that something will be done, but it can sometimes help you get clarity and nudge things along. And finally, if you are really concerned, you should think about whether there is something genuinely wrong with your application and seek professional advice. So talking to a regulated Canadian immigration consultant or an immigration lawyer can help you understand your options, see if there's any legal issues, and figure out a way to escalate things to get your application moving forward. Knowing that options are available to you, like knowing the estimated processing times, should be empowering so you can take control of what's happening. Thank you for joining me today. If you did like this video, remember to subscribe to our newsletter. We send our community all the latest updates they need to know to succeed in Canada as a newcomer. Bye.